Cyber Threat Brief for June 5, 2026. Cisco warns of an unpatched SD-WAN 0-day under active attack, the second major authentication bypass this year. Ironworm worms through 36 NPM packages, stealing cloud credentials. DentaQuest lost 2.6 million patient records to shiny hunters. AI agent security risks continue to mount with Claude Code GitHub action flaws and Microsoft flagging agentic AI as a critical insider threat vector. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. June 5, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN Manager 0-Day, CVE 2026-20245. Cisco disclosed an unpatched high-severity 0-day in Catalyst SD-WAN Manager, actively exploited in attacks. CVE 2026-20245 allows local attackers with low privileges to escalate to root by uploading crafted files due to insufficient input validation. The vulnerability impacts all deployment types: on-prem, Cloud Pro, cloud-managed, government. Cisco has observed exploitation, resulting in configuration changes pushed to edge devices. To exploit this flaw, attackers must have netadmin privileges, which requires valid credentials or prior exploitation of Maximum Severity Authentication Bypass, patched May 14, or Critical Authentication Bypass, patched March, exploited since 2023. No patches are available yet. Admins should check /var/log/scripts, log for suspicious tenant configuration uploads. This is the sixth Catalyst SD-WAN Manager vulnerability, exploited in the wild, part of a pattern where 90 Cisco vulnerabilities have been tagged as actively exploited by CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, with 4 in SD-WAN Manager and 6 used by ransomware operations, and 2 additional CVEs. These show notes for the full list. Action: upgrade to CVE 2026-20182 fix software immediately. Check /var/log/scripts, log for lines containing /usr/bin/vconft script upload tenant list, sh with suspicious CSV files. Generate admin tech files and open TAC cases for suspected compromise. Patches expected soon. Sources: Bleeping Computer Security Week. Cisco Unified CM Critical SSRF with Proof of Concept Exploit, CVE 2026-20230. Cisco patched a critical severity SSRF vulnerability in Unified Communications Manager, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 8.6. that allows unauthenticated remote attackers to write arbitrary files to the underlying OS and escalate to root. CVE 2026-20230 stems from improper input validation for specific HTTP requests. Proof of concept exploit code is now public, shortening the attack window. The flaw only impacts systems where the web dialer service is enabled, disabled by default. Cisco rated this advisory critical despite the 8.6 CVSS score because the file write leads to root escalation. This is the latest in a series of unified CM authentication bypasses, including actively exploited as a 0-day in January, CIS a KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, listed, and root access flaw, fixed in Cisco Unified CM versions 14SU6 and 15SU5, September 2026 or COP file, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: check web dialer status in Cisco Unified Serviceability Tools Control Center Feature Services, CTI services. If enabled, disable it immediately, uncheck Cisco Web Dialer Web Service and save, or patch to 14SU6 or interim COP file. 15SU5 full release not due until September 2026. Sources: Bleeping Computer, The Hacker News Bulletin. Everest Forms Pro WordPress Remote Code Execution actively exploited. CVE 2026-3300. Threat actors are actively exploiting a critical remote code execution vulnerability in Everest Forms Pro, a WordPress plugin with 4,000 active installations. CVE 2026-3300. CVSS 9.8 allows unauthenticated attackers to execute arbitrary PHP code via the calculation add-ons process filter function, which concatenates user-submitted form field values into a PHP code string without proper escaping before passing to a val. The sanitized text field function does not escape single quotes or PHP code context characters. Exploitation started April 13, 2026. WordFence has blocked over 29,300 exploit attempts, with 16 in the last 24 hours. Attackers are deploying web shells and creating rogue admin accounts named Dixamarina@gmail.com. fixed in version 1.9.13, released March 18, 2026. TAC IPs 202.56.2.126, 2402, 1F00, 8000 to 800, 40 dB, and 3 additional IP addresses in the show notes. Action: update Everest Forms Pro to version 1.9.13 immediately. Check for unauthorized admin accounts named Dixamarina or similar. Search for web shells and persistent backdoors. Block listed IP addresses at firewall. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section, Business and Infrastructure Threats. AI agents as critical insider threat vector detects. Researchers demonstrated how Anthropic's Claude Cowork, commonly deployed in corporate environments, can be exploited by insiders, malicious or negligent, to exfiltrate data within 10-30 minutes using simple single-turn prompts. Claude Cowork includes a dispatch tool that relays commands from a user's phone to their desktop Claude agent, plus Salesforce AI agent plugins. The agent has near-total system access, including SharePoint corporate data, production documentation in OneDrive, Outlook email, Salesforce data, and all the data it can access, and any files on the user's endpoint device. Each application has dedicated plugins or APIs for external sharing. Tests showed the agent could summarize Salesforce information into Outlook drafts and archive files for transfer via Cowork. This is not a software bug, or CVE, or common vulnerabilities and exposures, but an IT governance and visibility problem. Organizations are integrating AI tools without security controls, access policies, or prompt logging to detect problems. The attack surface is compounded by North Korean IT workers gaining legitimate access to Western companies and using AI tools to accelerate data theft. Network speeds have dropped from hours to 10-30 minutes for credential theft and exfiltration. The insider threat nightmare. You cannot determine if a data breach was caused by an agent running amok or responding to malicious instructions if prompts are not logged. Action: audit all AI agent deployments for access policies, logging, and monitoring. Enable prompt logging and auditing for all agents. Review access to sensitive systems, SharePoint, OneDrive, Outlook, Salesforce, granted to AI agents. Implement least privilege access controls. Monitor for abnormal data access patterns. Verify employee identities for all AI tool access, especially remote workers. Source: Cyberscoop. Claude Code GitHub action flaw, enabled repository takeover. A security researcher discovered a flaw in Anthropic's Claude Code GitHub action that allowed attackers to hijack vulnerable public repositories with a single GitHub issue. The core bypass, fixed in v1.0. 94, rated CVSS v4.07. 8, involved the workflow waving through any actor whose name ended in bot, assuming GitHub apps are trusted. Attackers could register a GitHub app, install it on a repo they own, and use its token to open an issue on any public repository. The action saw a bot and let the content through. Tag mode had an extra check for real humans, agent mode did not. From there, attackers used indirect prompt injection to plant instructions in issue content that Claude would follow. Ryota K bypassed guards to read /proc/self/environ environment variables, recovering the credentials GitHub Actions uses to request OIG tokens. Claude Code trades that token for a Claude GitHub app installation token with write access. Steal those credentials, replay the exchange, and you hold write access to the target's code, issues, and workflows. A softer route involved example workflows shipping with allowed non-write users. Asterisk, which lets anyone trigger the workflow. Claude posted task summaries to publicly visible workflow summary panels, a ready-made exfiltration channel. In February, this same attack pattern hit Klein's triage workflow, stealing an NPM published token and pushing an unauthorized Klein at 2.3.0. Action: update Claude Code action to v1.0. 94 or later immediately. Audit workflows for allowed non-write users. Asterisk, and remove or tighten to specific trusted users. Remove tools and permissions that can be used for exfiltration. Do not feed agent secrets beyond the Anthropic API, key, and GitHub token. Review any repos that copied Anthropic's example triage workflow. Source: The Hacker News. UN World Food Program Gaza breach, 600,000 households. The United Nations World Food Program disclosed a breach of its self-registration application, SRA, for Palestine. Attackers gained access to personal data belonging to beneficiaries across the Gaza Strip, including names, ID numbers, phone numbers, and location information, neighborhood data. The breach occurred May 14 and affected approximately 600,000 Palestinian households. The registration platform has been temporarily suspended for security improvements. WFP has over 20,000 staff in 120-plus countries and operates the largest humanitarian logistics network globally, 5,000 trucks, 20 ships, 80 aircraft. In 2024, It delivered $2.82 billion in financial assistance and 2.5 million metric tons of food. This is the latest in a series of UN agency breaches. UN Geneva offices, August 2019, not disclosed. UN Environmental Program, exposed 100,000-plus employee PII. UN Development Program, 8 base ransomware, 2024. And UN ICAO, 42,000 recruitment records stolen, 2024. Action: if operating humanitarian or aid systems, review registration platform security, access controls, and breach detection capabilities. Implement network segmentation for sensitive beneficiary databases. WFP beneficiaries should be wary of anyone claiming to represent WFP and requesting information or money. Source: Bleeping Computer. DentaQuest data breach, 2.6 million accounts. Dental Benefits Administrator DentaQuest suffered a data breach exposing 2.6 million accounts. The Shiny Hunters extortion group listed DentaQuest on its leak site in May, claiming to have stolen over 234 gigabytes of data. After failing to reach an agreement, the data was publicly leaked. DentaQuest confirmed on June 2 that its networks were breached, causing limited disruption in customer service. Have PWNet analyzed the leaked data and confirmed records for 2.6 million accounts containing email addresses, full names, phone numbers, government-issued ID, health insurance information, genders, and dates of birth. Roughly 66% of the exposed records were already present in HIP database from past incidents affecting other organizations. DentaQuest, part of Sun Life, serves 35 million customers, operates programs in 50 states, and has a network of 140,000 dentists and dental specialists. Action: if you are a DentaQuest customer, monitor for phishing attacks and social engineering attempts using exposed personal and health insurance data. Enable fraud monitoring on any accounts tied to exposed government ID. Implement multi-factor authentication on all health and financial accounts. Source: Bleeping Computer. Ola browser supply chain, compromise, Cryptominer. The Windows version of Ola browser was compromised in a supply chain attack that delivered an undeclared executable identified as a Monero cryptocurrency miner. The compromise was uncovered during periodic app Esteem certification checks. Sophos and other security companies discovered an undeclared executable named .exe installed under C/program files /ola/. The file had no timestamp, was not digitally signed, contained obfuscated code, and could write to memory. Miner adds a Windows Defender exclusion rule, copies itself to program files as Ola Monitor Service. .exe creates an auto-starting Windows service named Ola Monitor SVC and runs when the computer is idle. Ola confirmed the supply chain compromise, which was independently detected by Signia. The company claims only 0.1% of users were affected with no evidence of user data access, theft, or compromise. Ola rebuilt its distribution pipeline, implemented advanced code signing verification, tighter access controls, and continuous monitoring. Action: uninstall Ola browser immediately, check for Ola Monitor Service, .exe in program files, and remove Windows Service Ola Monitor SVC. Check Windows Defender exclusion rules and remove any related to Ola. Monitor for unauthorized cryptocurrency mining activity. Source: Bleeping Computer. Ironworm malware hits NPM supply chain, 36 packages. A new supply chain attack infected 36 packages on NPM with Ironworm, a Rust-based infostealer malware. Ironworm targets 86 environment variables and 20 credential files containing OpenAI, Oz, Anthropic, NPM credentials, Vault configuration files, SSH keys, and Exodus cryptocurrency wallet files. The malware hides behind an eBPF kernel rootkit, communicates over Tor, and self-propagates by using stolen credentials to publish Trojanized package versions. Once it compromises a developer or CI environment, it publishes Trojanized versions of packages owned by the victim, infecting additional developers and CI systems. Behavior is similar to Shai-Hulud, code published on GitHub recently, with the same commit names observed in both attacks. Ironworm appears to be a custom, carefully built implant with unique encryption keys throughout the codebase, not a single hard-coded key, making it significantly harder to analyze and detect. The attack started from a compromised account named Asteroidao. Commit author appears as Claude with backdated timestamps, up to 13 years in some cases. JFrog and Ox Security detected and mitigated the attack before it spread to more popular packages. A similar but distinct attack involving JavaScript-based malware named Binding. JIP was observed during the same timeframe. Action: review NPM dependencies for affected packages, see Ox Security report for full list. Upgrade to fixed releases. Rotate all NPM publishing tokens, API keys, cloud credentials, and SSH keys. Enable two-factor authentication for all NPM accounts. Audit CI/CD pipelines for unauthorized commits with author Claude or backdated timestamps. Monitor for eBPF rootkit indicators and Tor command and control connections. Sources: Bleeping Computer Dark Reading. Magecart campaign abuses Stripe API for C2. Multiple skimmer campaigns are abusing Stripe's API infrastructure as command and control servers and data exfiltration channels. The attacker treats Stripe as free infrastructure, using it as a writable database for stolen cards and a code hosting endpoint for the skimmer, both behind a domain that CSP rules and network filters trust by default. The campaign relies on Google Tag Manager, GTM, and Stripe domains, Google Tag Manager, COM, and API, Stripe, COM, both trusted implicitly by online stores. Malicious code loads from a GTM container and executes on every page. On Magento and Adobe Commerce checkout pages, it extracts an obfuscated skimmer from a Stripe customer accounts, TFFJ Osknoyaner, metadata field, and saves financial information, billing and email addresses, and phone numbers to local storage. Captured data is exfiltrated back to the attacker's Stripe account. Every stolen card becomes a customer in the attacker's account. The attacker lists stolen cards later by calling the same API with the same key. The Stripe customer record containing the skimmer was created December 24, 2025, indicating the operation may have been active since then. Sansec identified a second variant using Google Firestore instead of Stripe with the same end goal: abuse a trusted service as a covert channel. Action: audit all GTM containers for unauthorized scripts loading from Google Tag Manager. COM: review content security policy rules to tighten API. Stripe: COM access: monitor for unusual Stripe API calls retrieving customer metadata. Check for local storage keys containing payment data. Review Firestore access for unauthorized document reads, tracking /CAPTCHA in Braintree Payment app. Customers should use one-time virtual cards with set limits. Sources: Bleeping Computer. The Hacker News. PCP Jack hijacks 230 cloud servers for SMTP Relay Network. The threat actor PCP Jack hijacked 230 cloud servers on AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure to create a covert SMTP email relay network. Compromised business servers across the U.S., Europe, and Asia were converted into SMTP proxies, verified for mail relay capability, and synced to a downstream consumer every 5 minutes. Hunt. EO discovered source code, compiled binaries, deployment state logs, internet scanners, exploitation tooling, and a live sliver C2 configuration after the threat actor left 2 open directories on a C2 server, 213.136.80.73, and 2 additional domains. See show notes for the full list. Action: audit cloud servers, Oz, Google Cloud, Azure, for unauthorized processes named excess in /var/tmp/. Check for chisel binaries and processes. Review cron entries and systemd services for persistence. Block outbound connections to 213.136.80.73 and 2 additional domains. See show notes for the full list. Source: The Hacker News. Dashlane brute force attack, under 20 vaults downloaded. Attackers mounted a coordinated hacking campaign against Dashlane users, abusing the device enrollment mechanism to brute force 6-digit one-time tokens. The threat actor targeted API endpoints for device registration and sent a large volume of automated requests. Dashlane's automated security systems triggered account lockouts for targeted accounts. Before the attack was fully mitigated, the threat actor brute-forced valid tokens for fewer than 20 personal plan customers, allowing them to register new devices and download encrypted vaults. Vault contents remain unreadable without the master password, which acts as the decryption key. The campaign started Sunday and was shut down by Thursday. The attack flow involved sending device registration requests to users' registered email addresses, brute forcing the 6-digit token, registering a new device, and downloading the encrypted vault. Dashlane confirmed fewer than 20 personal user vaults were downloaded. Action: Dashlane users should check for unauthorized devices in account settings and remove any not recognized. Enable 2-factor authentication using an authenticator app, stronger than email-based codes. If you received unexpected Dashlane device registration emails, change your master password and rotate all stored credentials. Review account activity logs for suspicious device enrollments. Source: Ars Technica. Russia FSB discloses mobile spyware operation targeting officials. Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, disclosed a large-scale action by foreign intelligence services to implant spyware on mobile devices of high-ranking officials. The software exfiltrated existing data, intercepted ongoing conversations, and conducted covert audio and video surveillance of the immediate surroundings of devices to obtain sensitive information. Russia stated representatives of foreign intelligence services, leveraged the technical capabilities of major international IT corporations and exploited mobile communication channels. The FSB did not reveal who was behind the attacks. An investigation is ongoing, with a criminal case initiated. No attribution, technical details, or indicators of compromise were provided. Source: The Hacker News Bulletin. Chinalinked TA-4922 expands to Europe and South Africa. Chinalink cybercrime group TA-4922 has expanded targeting from East Asia to the UK, Germany, Italy, and South Africa. The group operates with rapid operational tempo and continually evolving malware arsenal, including Valley RAT, Winos 4.0, Atlas RAT, Atlas Cross RAT, Romulus Loader, and Silent Run Loader. TA-4922 shares overlap with Silverfox and is assessed to be financially motivated, focused on obtaining remote access for data theft, fraud, access resale, or persistent access. Proofpoint characterizes TA-4922 as conducting more unique campaigns than any other threat actor it tracks. Recent campaigns use human resources and business-themed lures for credential phishing, fraud, and malware delivery. Attackers attempt to move conversations from email to Line, WhatsApp, and Microsoft Teams to bypass enterprise security controls. Campaign highlights: March-April 2026. Japanese organizations targeted with Atlas RAT via DLL, Dynamic Link Library, Sideloading UK. Organizations targeted with tax authority lures delivering Silent Run Loader, Python-based loader and Stealer harvesting Chrome credentials, cookies, and browsing data. Germany and Southeast Asia targeted with benefits and compliance themes. Action: block known TA-4922 infrastructure and malware hashes. Train employees to recognize HR and business-themed phishing lures. Implement policies to prevent moving business conversations to personal messaging apps, Line, WhatsApp, Teams. Monitor for DLL sideloading attacks. Audit Chrome browser data access and review for unauthorized credential harvesting. Source: The Hacker News. VIP Keylogger campaign via layered JavaScript loaders. Threat actors are pushing VIP Keylogger via loaders written in JavaScript, batch scripts, and Visual Basic Script, VBS. Attackers masquerade as legitimate business communications such as bank payment notifications, procurement orders, and logistics updates to lure users into opening malicious files. The JavaScript file, Remittance Advice JS, contains over 2 megabytes of junk code with for loops that do nothing. The payload decodes into an environment variable using ROT13 obfuscation, executes PowerShell through WMI wins, root /simv2, fetches an MSI background JPEG file from Cloudflare workers, ICLab 431, Gilherme Telecomunicações 2024. Workers, dev/MC SLB. Extracts a base 64 encoded payload delimited within and in one with all A characters replaced by hash and loads a modified NetDLL Microsoft Win32 task scheduler. The PowerShell payload also fetches Snake PNG from Cloudflare R2 Pub hash indicator R2 dev/snake PNG, which contains another payload protected by steganography. The NetLoader is currently under analysis. Action: block Cloudflare workers domains ICLab 431. Gilherme Telecomunicações 2024. Workers, dev and Cloudflare R2 bucket pub hash indicator R2 dev at perimeter firewalls. Train users to recognize business-themed lures, bank payment notifications, procurement orders. Block execution of oversized JavaScript files over 1 megabytes. Monitor for PowerShell execution via WMI with execution policy bypass and hidden windows. Hunt for environment variables containing large base 64 blobs. Check for modified Microsoft Win32 task scheduler DLL loads. Sources: Sans ISC. The Hacker News Bulletin. Fluttershell backdoor. Mac OS malvertising via Google/YouTube ads. A Mac OS malvertising campaign codenamed Operation Flutterbridge spreads Fluttershell backdoor via malicious Google and YouTube ads. Fluttershell is built using the Flutter framework and infects targets with adware via malicious desktop applications, Podcast Lounge, PDF Brain, PDF Ninja. The backdoor possesses shell command execution and file system manipulation capabilities. The campaign is the next stage of JS Core Runner, File Ripple, activity, attributed to CLCRI 1089, active since at least 2023. Operations include Recipe Lister and Calendar-O-Matic, Tampered Chef/Evil AI campaigns. Attackers distribute malicious ads using Google-verified shell companies, AdsPark Pro Limited, Advantage Web Marketing LLC, Softwe Art Limited/Pacific Trade Solutions Limited, with links to Ukrainian individuals. Target audiences are Mac OS users in the U.S., Canada, Australia, France, and Germany. Fluttershell modifies Google Chrome configuration files to hijack the browser, forcing all traffic through an attacker-controlled, ad-filled intermediary site. All samples were signed with valid Apple Developer ID and passed notarization. Flutter Shell implements a web view-based architecture with a JavaScript-to-native bridge, allowing attackers to host malicious logic on external websites and dynamically alter behavior without recompiling. PDFbrain and PDF Ninja feature AI-powered summarization by relaying documents through an attacker-controlled server. Action: block known malvertising domains and Apple Developer ID used by CLCRI 1089. Educate Mac OS users about malicious Google and YouTube ads promoting productivity software. Review Chrome configuration, files for unauthorized modifications, and browser hijacking. Monitor for web view-based applications with external JavaScript bridges. Hunt for notarized applications signed with compromised or malicious Apple Developer ID. Block attacker-controlled intermediary ad domains. Source: The Hacker News. FIFA World Cup 2026 scams, 4,300+ domains, banking malware. A wave of FIFA-themed fraud is targeting World Cup 2026 fans ahead of the June 11 kickoff. Group IB tracked over 4,300 fraudulent FIFA domains registered since August 2025. Ghost Stadium, a Chinese-speaking operation, runs one phishing kit across more than 300 sites. The fake login page is a near-perfect copy of FIFA.com, mimicking FIFA's single sign-on login, ping identity, down to the genuine client ID. It loads images from FIFA-owned servers. The page asks to reset the password, allowing attackers to lock victims out of their FIFA accounts and resell tickets. Most traffic comes from Facebook ads, with the same tracking codes reused across the cluster, plus links on Telegram, WhatsApp, and search results. Payment methods include card entry, outside payment gateways, money transfer apps, Chime, Nequi, Mexico-only processors, and crypto conversion. Atel, as FIFA official ticketing never takes crypto. Group IB estimates losses from premium and hospitality ticket fraud at $71,474 million. FortiGuard Labs counted over 13,000 World Cup-themed domains, January-May, about 8.8% malicious or suspicious. FBI advisory lists dozens of fake FIFA domains. Threat Fabric saw a spike in malicious streaming apps pretending to be Roja Directa that install Android banking Trojans to drain banking and payment apps. Action: only purchase tickets from official FIFA channels. FIFA.com. Verify URLs carefully for misspellings or extra characters. Do not click FIFA-related links in Facebook ads, Telegram, WhatsApp, or unsolicited emails. Never pay for FIFA tickets using cryptocurrency. Do not download unofficial streaming apps. Enable fraud monitoring on banking and payment apps. Block known Ghost Stadium domains and IP addresses. Sources: The Hacker News Recorded Future. Next section: Windows/Active Directory Security. Microsoft M365 Copilot Vulnerabilities. CVE 2026-45497, CVE 2026-42824. Microsoft disclosed two M365 Copilot vulnerabilities. CVE 2026-45497 is a remote code execution vulnerability caused by improper neutralization of special elements used in a command injection, that allows an authorized attacker to execute code over a network. CVE 2026-42824 is an information disclosure vulnerability, also caused by command injection, that allows an unauthorized attacker to disclose information over a network. No CVSS scores, EPSS, the exploit prediction scoring system, data, or patch details are publicly available yet. Both vulnerabilities are listed in the Microsoft Security Response Center, MSRC, Security Update Guide. Action: monitor MSRC Security Update Guide for patches and additional details. Review M365 Copilot deployments for unauthorized access attempts. Implement least privilege access controls for Copilot. Monitor for command injection attempts in Copilot prompts. Sources: MSRC CVE 2026-45497 MSRC and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Azure Horizon DB Privilege Escalation. CVE 2026-48567, Azure Horizon DB contains an authentication bypass by spoofing vulnerability that allows an unauthorized attacker to elevate privileges over a network. No CVSS score, EPSS data, or patch details are publicly available yet, listed in the MSRC Security Update Guide. Action: monitor MSRC Security Update Guide for patches and additional details. Review Azure Horizon DB deployments for unauthorized access attempts. Implement network segmentation to limit exposure. Source: MSRC CVE 2026-48567. Microsoft Intune driver update issue, Mo 1,332,784. Microsoft fixed an issue that caused Windows devices to install driver updates without notice despite policies configured to prevent auto updates. The bug was caused by a misconfiguration in the Windows Update caching service that temporarily dropped device enrollment information, causing devices to be treated as non-enrolled and preventing driver approval controls from being applied correctly. Microsoft updated the affected service cache and enrollment status for affected devices to resolve the issue, confirmed Wednesday. Windows admins reported tens of thousands of devices unexpectedly getting BIOS and driver updates, causing audio or video devices to stop functioning. Microsoft has not shared how many regions or customers were affected. Action: review Windows devices for unexpected BIOS and driver updates in the past week. Verify Intune enrollment status for affected devices. Check for audio or video device failures after recent driver updates. Review driver update policies to ensure they are still configured correctly. Monitor for future Intune caching issues. Source: Bleeping Computer. Microsoft AI Red Team Taxonomy v2.0, Agentic AI Failure Modes. Microsoft AI Red Team published Taxonomy v2.0 of failure modes in Agentic AI systems, adding 7 new failure mode categories based on 12 months of Red Team engagements. Key developments driving the revision. OpenClaw, open source agentic framework, launched January 2026, accumulated 336,000 GitHub stars, spawned 2,100 plus agents within 48 hours. Security audit found 512 vulnerabilities, including CVE 2026-25253, one-click RCE via WebSocket hijacking. 1,800 plus exposed instances leaking API keys and credentials in the first week, 336 malicious plugins in Skills Marketplace. Credential stealers masquerading as trading bots. The Model Context Protocol matured with 99 CVEs published in 2025 for MCP-related software. Computer use agents moved from research to production, introducing attack surfaces with no analog in earlier AI security work. 7 new failure modes. 1. Agentic supply chain compromise, plugin registries, MCP servers, prompt templates inject natural language instructions. 2. Goal hijacking, adversarial instructions redirect agent's terminal goal. 3. Interagent trust escalation. Compromised agent asserts false identity or inflates permissions. 4.7. Not fully detailed in the excerpt. Action: audit all deployed agentic AI systems for exposure to new failure modes. Review MCP server configurations and plugin registries for supply chain risks. Implement prompt validation to detect goal hijacking attempts. Add interagent authentication and permission verification. Monitor for CVE 2026-25253 exploitation indicators, WebSocket hijacking. Review OpenClaw deployments for exposed API keys and credentials. Source: Microsoft Security Blog. Next section, General Security News. Off-Road Identity Risk Management launches with $7 funding New York/Tel Aviv-based Off-Road emerged from stealth with $7 million seed funding, Ibex Investors and Skywell Capital, to tackle enterprise identity risk. Off-Road uses agentic AI to investigate, govern, remediate, and verify identity risks. It gathers context from fragmented systems and fixes issues autonomously or reports to a human in the loop. The company published a detailed audit report of 2,890 public OAuth applications on Google Workspace Marketplace and GitHub Marketplace. The audit finds 918 apps, 32%, carry at least one structural exposure signal. Scopes wider than the app stated function, AI with write access, threat intel flags, dead publisher websites, buyable or pending publisher domains, and brand-leading app names published by third parties. Off-Road launched OAuth AI, a community catalog of OAuth apps with overprivileged scopes, dead publisher domains, and silent permission drift. Co-founded in May 2025 by CEO and CTO Philip Shtain, former captain, Unit 8200 Israeli Military Intelligence. Action: audit all OAuth applications with access to Google Workspace and GitHub for overprivileged scopes and dead publisher domains. Review OAuth AI catalog for risky OAuth apps in your environment. Implement continuous monitoring of OAuth app permissions and identity activity. Source: Security Week. Brave Origin browser launches, $59.99, removes monetization features. Brave Software released Brave Origin, a paid minimalist version of its browser that strips out cryptocurrency, AI, rewards, and other monetization features. Brave Origin turns off Brave Rewards, Brave Wallet, Brave VPN promotions, Brave Leo AI, Brave News, Brave Talk, sponsored images, and other promotional components. Brave Shield's privacy and ad blocking remain enabled. The license is a one-time purchase of $59.99 for up to 10 devices. Linux users get Brave Origin for free. Critics argue Brave is charging users to remove features many already considered unnecessary and unwanted, and that the browser itself became another monetization layer over time. Defenders argue most users are unlikely to manually configure enterprise policies to disable features, making Brave Origin more accessible. Source: Bleeping Computer. Europol dismantles fake ID marketplace, migrant smuggling. French and Spanish authorities took down an online marketplace selling fake identity documents to migrant smuggling rings operating within the EU. Law enforcement arrested one suspect in Alicante, Spain, May 27, and seized document production equipment and approximately 800 counterfeit European identity documents. The suspect administered an online marketplace offering forged identity and administrative documents, physical and digital formats, to customers across Europe, facilitating migrant smuggling operations by supplying criminal networks with fraudulent documents to evade border controls, fraudulently obtain residence rights, and facilitate secondary movements within the EU. Europol expanded capacity to combat migrant smuggling in March 2026 after a new EU regulation established the European Centre Against Migrant Smuggling (ECMS) in December 2025. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section, Patch Priority. Cisco Catalyst as DWAN Manager. No patch available for CVE 2026-20245, 0-day under active attack. Upgrade to CVE 2026-20182 fixed software immediately. Cisco Unified Communications Manager. Update to 14 SU6 or interim COP file for CVE 2026-20230, CVSS 8.6, POC Public. 15 SU5 release September 2026. Everest Forms Pro, WordPress. Update to version 1.9.13 for CVE 2026-3300, CVSS 9.8, actively exploited since April 13. Hitachi Energy RTU 500 CMU firmware. Update to 13.8.2 or 13.7.9. When available, for CVE 2025-69421, primarily DOS Impact, and 6 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Hitachi Energy ITT 600 Explorer. Update to version 2. 1 SB6HF1 for CVE 2024-8176 and CVE 2025-59375. DOS vulnerabilities in LibSpet only affects IEC 61850 server simulation. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Hitachi Energy RTU 500 multiple vulnerabilities, 7 CVEs, CIS a published and ICS, Industrial Control Systems, advisory for Hitachi Energy RTU 500 series, CMU firmware, covering 7 vulnerabilities, CVE 2025-69421. All vulnerabilities primarily impact product availability, with potential secondary impacts on confidentiality and integrity. Is a null pointer dereference in PKCS #12 file processing. Product affected if privileged user uploads malformed PKCS #12 certificate or PKI client functionality is configured. Is a null pointer dereference in LibSpet. Product only affected if IEC 61850 functionality is configured. Is an integer overflow in LibSpet do content function, DOS Impact. Affected versions: 12.7.1-12.7.7, 13.5.1-13.5.4, 13.6.1-13.6.3, 13.7.1-13.7.8, 13.8.1. Fixed in 13.8.2 or 13.7.9, when available. Sectors: dams, energy, water, and wastewater. Worldwide deployment, and 9 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Sources: CISA ICSA 26100 and 55.4. Hitachi Energy ITT 600 Explorer vulnerabilities, 2 CVEs. CIS a published and ICS advisory for Hitachi Energy ITT 600 Explorer, covering CVE 2024-8176. And both vulnerabilities can be exploited to carry out denial of service (DOS) attacks. It's a stack overflow in the LibSpet library used by IEC 61850 functionality. Malicious user with local access can use crafted IEC 61850 message, may lead to memory corruption and potential arbitrary code execution. Allows attackers to trigger large dynamic memory allocations via a small document submitted for parsing. Product only affected if IEC 61850 server simulation is used. Affected versions: ITT 600 Explorer before 2, 1 SB6 and version 2, 1 SB6. Fixed in 2, 1 SB6 HF1 or upgrade to 2.2 when available. Sector, energy, worldwide deployment, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Source: CISA IXA 26155-2. Hitachi Energy Mach High Draw Buffer Overflow, CVE 2026-7310. CISA published an ICS advisory for Hitachi Energy Mach High Draw covering CVE 2026-7310, a heap-based buffer overflow in XML parser functionality. An authenticated malicious user with local access can exploit this using a specially crafted XML file, leading to memory corruption and potential arbitrary code execution. Successful exploitation could result in application crashes, DOS, and compromise the confidentiality and integrity of the affected system. Affected versions: Mach High Draw 9, 22 and prior. Fixed in version 9. 23, contact local account team for upgrade information due to project implementation complexity. Sectors, dams, energy, transportation systems. Worldwide deployment. Source: CISA IXA 26155-5. BNR PPT30 Operating System, OPC, UA-DOS, CVE 2025-11482. CISA published an ICS advisory for BNR PPT30 Operating System covering CVE 2025-11482. An allocation of resources without limits or throttling vulnerability in the OPC UA server. An unauthenticated network-based attacker can permanently prevent legitimate users from interacting with the service. The OPC UA server is not activated by default. Affected versions: PPT30 operating system before 1.8.0 and 1.8.0. Fixed in 1.8.0. Sectors: commercial facilities, critical manufacturing, energy, transportation systems, water and wastewater. Worldwide deployment. Mitigation: only activate OPC UA server if required, configure South Firewall and Control Network Firewall to restrict access to trusted IP addresses, segment network, ensure physical network interfaces accessible only to authorized personnel. Source: CISA IXA 26155-3. After NavBox hard-coded credentials, CVE 2026-21404. CISA published an ICS advisory for NAFTR NavBox covering CVE 2026-21404, hard-coded credentials within Windows Communication Foundation, SOAP, implementation. If SOAP functionality is enabled, a local attacker can extract credentials to bypass the intended transfer workflow. Successful authentication against SOAP interface grants access to privileged WCF methods, enabling file write or overwrite within application-defined paths. Affected version: NavBox 4.16.1.20. Fixed in April 2026, version 4.17.2.6 and later. Users with active NavBox connection will automatically receive the update. Sector: information technology, worldwide deployment. Not remotely exploitable, high attack complexity. Source: CISA IXA 26155-1. Next section: trends and context. Today's threat landscape shows converging risks from AI agents, supply chain attacks, and authentication bypasses. Cisco's SD-WAN zero-day and unified CM flaw demonstrate that network infrastructure remains under sustained attack. With 4 Catalyst SD-WAN manager vulnerabilities exploited in the wild and 90 Cisco vulnerabilities overall added to CISA's KEV catalog. AI agent security risks are materializing across multiple vectors. Claude Code GitHub action flaws enabled repository takeover via prompt injection. DTEX research showed Claude Cowork can exfiltrate corporate data within 10-30 minutes. And Microsoft's updated agentic AI taxonomy documents 512 vulnerabilities in OpenClaw within days of launch. Supply chain attacks are growing more sophisticated, with Ironworm using Rust and eBPF rootkits to worm through NPM and Ironworm-style attacks hitting 36 packages. The convergence of AI capabilities with traditional attack vectors, phishing, malvertising, credential theft, is compressing attack timelines from hours to minutes. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.